Okay. This is our 10th session. Did you know that?
It is.
I
It is. Our last one.
Yeah, well, you can always do more. You know, a lot of people do more than one package. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Anyways, so, okay. So we've been working together for a few months.
Mm-hmm.
And you're in Europe, but you're from Australia.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
So it's been a process, and you were just talking about you had a panic attack because you have been you've been gaining weight, and we were talking about the clothes because you are over it, right? You in your mind would rather gain weight than to go back into how terrible, trying to fix your weight was.
Yeah.
So you've reckoned, the restrictions, the just the overall being defined by that, and your whole life being, or at least your free time, because you work, but your free time being dedicated to that. So anyway, so we were talking about the clothes.
Yeah.
And how significant the clothing part of it is, and it's I was just telling you, it's such a common problem that once someone loses weight and they purchase new clothes, they actually symbolize success, right? And you had said something, and I was like, oh my God, I need to get that recorded because it really captures really what is holding you hostage. We talk about it feels like you're being held hostage, and it's you holding yourself hostage. And some of these clothes are markers, right? They're body image markers so that you can track where your body is, and your brain actually latches onto these numbers as safety marks, right? Or success marks. There's a big downside to that, but go ahead. You were saying...
So I have clothes in all different sizes, and the smallest sizes, I know when I bought them, it was like I invested in them because I thought that they would help me stay at that weight because I was spending so much money on these particular outfits.
They would help you stay focused, right? Or accountable would be a word.
Yeah, accountable.
Held hostage.
Yes.
To have to abuse yourself, right? So, anyways, I'm going to let you finish, but I have a side note on that.
Yeah, and so I've yo-yo dieted so much that I buy these clothes and I can only fit into them for about a week before I spring back up again and can't fit into them again, and they're still in my wardrobe, and I've actually moved them into my husband's wardrobe, but I really need to get rid of them.
Now, how do they make you feel?
Depressed.
Like a failure? Like you
yeah.
failed?
Yep. I failed. And they're taunting me. Yeah,
and I had said to you, well, the failure occurred when you actually thought that a clothing size is impactful enough and important enough psychologically and emotionally in terms of life reward that you would be motivated to then restrict your food. So this is a great example of how that first hierarchy of need, which is the foundation of our psychology, the first hierarchy of need is, do we have adequate amount of food? Do we have access to food, and do we have access to get more food in the future? And that is the foundation of our psychological well-being. That if that is secure, there's a serious biological response to that. You're thinking that the visible, or that symbolic success of meeting this size or being attractive, wouldn't you agree that those clothes also somewhat symbolize the desire to be worshipped or looked at?
Yeah, probably. Yep.
Just think about when
they're definitely a presentation thing.
Yeah, presentation.
This is me. This is how I want to present myself.
Yes. And so how that, in terms of our evolution, it's a gamble. You actually failed when you thought that fitting into those clothes or that those clothes would be more important than food, right? Look at it biologically. Look at it in terms of our psychological evolution.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, like, whoa. If knowing what you know now, it's like, you're going to get your food, and it doesn't really, like, you can't, that assumption you made was not taking into account how the brain inflames in relation to your conscious awareness of food. Yeah. And when you feel deprived, right, how are you going to manage those feelings of deprivation and those desires to want to participate? How do those clothes rank in importance to your desire to participate with food with your family?
Oh, I know, it's terrible. So, yeah, at the time, they were more important than friends or family or anything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know, it's like a fantasy to think that because those clothes are social clothes, I'm assuming. They're not nighttime sleeping,
business clothes. Like, I think one of them is work, which I wore to work once. Yeah.
So you just need to be okay with the lesson, right? The cost of the school of hard knocks, right?
Yeah.
I think I have a master's degree in the school of hard knocks. Right? And know the cost of the lesson. That way it doesn't feel like totally wasted, but does it make sense to hold on to those clothes if you're not willing to be obsessive compulsive the way you were to reach those clothes, especially when you know the life you want to live with food at that table of abundance?
No, I don't want to keep on.
Right? It just is like, are you willing to sacrifice that table of abundance so that you can emaciate yourself down into some clothes so that you can feel that you don't lose the money that you spent on it, even if it's a few grand? I've had clients who've spent a few $1,000s on clothes because they lost 80 pounds and they feel so proud of themselves, but those clothes end up being part of what holds you hostage, right? Between I can't eat because I need to fit into my clothes. And unfortunately, how does that work out? You know, you're going to rebound. You're going to end up feeling the reward of the jeans or the reward of the dress or the skirt aren't enough to minimize that inflammation around the brain's survival mechanisms to get food to feel safe.
Yeah. No, they're not enough. And especially because I know now in my mind now and how much better I feel about myself that I've been shopping again and I bought clothes that are big and they fit me and they feel so comfortable. So I didn't actually think that was possible to buy clothes that I love in the size I am now and feel as comfortable in them as I do.
And to not feel judge yourself or feel like you failed something or to feel like it's a loser or that you're a size bigger and it's temporary because you're going to do something about it.
Yeah, no. And I wouldn't have, I bought a pair of jeans and they're actually pretty pricey, but they're so comfortable.
Right, okay.
And I wouldn't have done that if I thought that I was going to lose weight again because that would have been a waste of money in my mind.
Totally. Well, because what we've done is we've flipped this around. Before it was that size is not negotiable and everything else has to accommodate, to include food, which is never going to work out just because we're mammals. Yeah. Now, what you're doing is you're eating in a realistic way. Are you binging?
No, I'm not binging. Sometimes I'm forgetting that I'm still eating while I'm talking and socializing. But sometimes, I'm just eating normally, I think.
Yeah, like would you say if we were to look at your behavior with food, would you say it's healthy behavior compared to what it was before, right? I'm not a big fan of the word healthy just because how do you define that? But would you say I'm
just eating to keep alive.
Yeah, and you're enjoying it. Are you giving yourself diversity? Are you eating only ice cream all the time? Chips only?
Just whatever.
Yeah, would you say it's pretty diverse?
It's pretty diverse. I'm eating whatever everyone else is eating, pretty much.
So you're eating, compare it to your strict diet. Before, you would eat like what?
Oh, I would eat grass-fed beef and green vegetables, as long as they didn't have any carbs in them. It was so restrictive, and I
So low carb?
Low carb, yeah.
Sugar-free?
Sugar-free, yep, dairy-free.
Dairy-free? Did you do gluten-free?
Wheat-free,
okay. So
everything free.
And you were pretty strict with it.
Extremely strict.
Unless you were binging.
Unless I was binging.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was the opposite.
When was the last time you binged?
I can hardly remember. I don't even think I've binged since I've been speaking with you. Maybe I've overeaten slightly.
That's different.
But I haven't binged.
Yeah, overeating, because, well, there's always that transition states that everybody goes through where they still overconsume out of feeling deprived, out of feeling entitled. There's still some emotional baggage.
Yeah.
Because the state of mind of the victim isn't gone. That victim positionality we talked about. I'm pretty sure we've talked about, boo-hoo, I'm a martyr, my life sucks. I deserve that food. It's a form of negotiation that only dieters do, right? Only dieters negotiate for food because they live in restriction. So, but anyways, your eating right now is diverse. You give yourself everything you want. Am I right? And you're eating very much so based on the biological rhythm of hunger, right?
Yeah.
In general, there's those random times, but that's life. There's random times you get too hungry as well, I bet.
Yeah, I do a lot, actually. I do get too hungry.
So you got to pay attention and maybe be more prepared.
I'm still struggling to recognize hunger signals sometimes, especially because I'm not thinking about food all the time, so I forget.
Yeah, couldn't you even believe that? You just said that right there?
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, so you're you're doing a very good job eating biologically. So with that said, I'm going back to my, long-winded comment here that before the weight was non-negotiable, and no matter what, everything in your life was sacrificed for that weight, which never ended up working out because those sacrifices stimulated this primal urge to eat. So it was like never going to happen. Now, instead, what we've done is what you're doing is eating the way you believe your life can handle. The way that is balanced in terms of you get the choice of what you want, you get the freedom of a full menu of choice, but limited by the rhythms of hunger, right? So you don't just get to eat whenever you want and however much you want. You get the freedom of choice combined with the body gets to regulate how much of whatever you're eating, right? And you don't know how much of what you're going to eat until you're actively eating it and feeling how the body is responding to that food. So you're very much engaged when you eat. And so with that said, that's not negotiable. You are no longer sacrificing food. And however, what you're allowing the body to do is then get to its natural state.
Yeah.
Vespa, stop it. And so you now have a body that has gotten a little bigger, and it should, considering how thin you were and how, oh my God. Well, you're a good girl. This is my neighbor's Visha. So this isn't Potato. This is Vespa.
Oh, I was wondering because I know that's what your dog's name is.
Yeah, so Vespa is, she's a Visha. If you get into that private group, this is going to only my patrons. You'll get to see Vespa. She's sweet. Anyways, so now we're basically saying I'm gonna make my food realistic, and I'm open-minded to how my body's gonna respond to this. So your body has gained. It's been, a lot of people start the work with me thinking, oh, and I'm not gonna gain. Bullshit. You especially like in your instance, you came to me right after a round of HCG. Right? Thinking, I'm going to work with Robin, and maybe because I won't be going back into binging, I'll be able to maintain my losses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that's not how it works. You've got to get rid of the desire to be thin because that's actually coming from an inflamed survival state of mind.
Yeah.
Overall, how do you feel physically? You're no longer, you're eating sugar, you're eating gluten, you're eating dairy, you're eating nuts, you're eating grains, you're eating salad and vegetables, and you're eating basically everything you were before, but just with a bazillion more options.
Yeah.
You're slightly heavier. And how do you feel in general?
I feel fine. Lately I've been feeling a bit tired, but I've been working really hard, really long hours.
How do you feel emotionally? If you were to give yourself a rate, how you were doing emotionally before compared to now. So before we started working together to after the 10 sessions, 10 being terrible. 10 is like horrific, suicidal. Okay. And 1 is nothing. Like I'm feeling great.
Yeah. So, I would have been 8 or 9 before I contacted you. Really felt like I was running out of options. And then now, 1, 2, it's up and down a little bit, but it's still, it's definitely on the much more joyful scale.
Yeah, how would you describe your symptoms before, like the symptoms you used to have before, and what the symptoms of this kind of new state of mind is?
So the symptoms before, I just felt really depressed. I was seeing a counsellor. I'd run out of counselling sessions, and I started talking to her about, I asked her one of my last sessions about food addiction, and she said, oh, you'll have to see someone else about that, or that's a very long thing to have to deal with, so we can put you in touch with a specialist about that. And I just thought, oh, okay, so I didn't keep going to that. I just felt like there was absolutely no joy in my life, and I was just so obsessed with diet and food, and it was ruining my life.
Did you have anxiety?
Yeah.
With food? So. Yeah. And panic attacks? How like in social environments?
Well, I just didn't go. I didn't go to any social
So you started to isolate yourself? Yeah, stopped going out in public? If you did, it would cause a lot of anxiety, right? A lot of panic, a lot of binge triggers that you couldn't handle because you've got to isolate yourself from food. And this was all for health.
Yeah, it was.
Oh my God. So now, do you have any of the social anxieties?
Not so much, but I still do, because I always have had. I'm very introverted, and so I just find social things just really hard. But I went to something recently, which is like school parent social thing, and we were on our way there, and I was starting to freak out, and I just kept going, and it was just really lovely. It was a really nice night, and it was just easy.
Yeah, you're not having the panics with food in particular. Like you don't have to go out and manage your eating and what are we eating and meal plan ahead of time. That's what I'm specifically talking about.
Yeah, no, I wasn't worried about that. And the other thing is, when I did used to go to these social events, I would just eat the whole time. If I went, I would eat it was a wine and cheese, and I would probably be just continuously eating because
anxiety. That's anxiety. And you're trying to it's like a mouthy way to not have to talk to people. It's like being busy, seeming busy. Yeah, that's social anxiety. That's definitely. So if you're still having that symptom, just keep in mind that's a symptom. It's not a personality trait.
No, and I went to this one recently, and I didn't even think about the food at all. And I didn't even realise that I didn't think about food until I got home. And thought, wow, that's just really...
So that's a sign your social anxiety is significantly less. You're not needing to pacify yourself.
Yeah. No, I wasn't. But it was good.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's not ruining my life anymore.
No. Can you even believe that? That was, because I know for me, when I was in that, it just feels so impossible. It feels so impossible to even think that there is a way to stop, right? The obsessive compulsiveness around it. And how do you just let something like this that's so ingrained in your identity and how you believe life should be like, how you can get rid of something like that, right? But yet it causes so much terror. But how does it feel to be on the other side?
I feel stronger. I feel, yeah, it's great. I feel like that I've got so many more options now. I've got, yeah, it's a really nice feeling.
That's hard to describe.
Yeah, it is.
Awesome. Stop it! Stop it! Come on. It's always like I'm sitting here and they just want to be right here. How, is there anything you want to say to the listeners? Is there anything you want to say in terms of helping someone who can't work with me, can't afford to work with me, but is trying to get help through these YouTube videos? Is there anything you can say to them that might help? That helped you?
Yeah. Okay. Well, definitely join Robin's new group.
If they're hearing this, they did.
Okay. Oh yeah, of course.
The Patreon group,
right.
Which is like a Patreon support, for people like myself.
All right. So to the new members of the Patreon group, one thing that's really helped me is to start looking at women of all different shapes and sizes, and just it's sort of, I think doing that has helped me see the body in a neutral way, and I've things like stopped looking at the old fashion magazines, and because it's not real. Just if you have to look at fashion, look at real bodies, and just all shapes and sizes, fat, thin, middle size. Just I think that's really helped me actually. Just to stop being so narrow-minded about what we are, like this, the thin supremacy.
Right, and the health supremacy too, narrow-minded about what the body can tolerate in food. That's the thing. You came to the table with a big bag of it. It wasn't just the anorexia. You also had the orthorexia, which is so common. It's as common as like anorexics and running marathons, right? And athleticism. It's just like it's all kind of the same shit.
Yeah. So on the health righteousness, I blocked any of that out of my email stream and my Facebook, because once you start looking at these things in Facebook, you just get more and more of it. It just keeps flooding in, and it's like
inundating.
Yeah, it is, and it's like there isn't anything else on the internet except for health.
God, I was watching some on the Travel Channel yesterday. I was watching this, food travel thing, and they were doing interviews with people in Portugal. And not one time did I hear them say it's so healthy. It was the most just wonderful thing to watch when they're like, it's so flavorful and it's got such texture. These dogs are driving me nuts. Anyway, so thank you so much for sharing this.